Hello and welcome to another episode of the Laid Back Life podcast. We're talking about how to love entrepreneurship, your life, and improve daily. I'm Jordan Ostroff, your host, and normally I am joined by an amazing guest, but instead that's going to be me today. So, sorry. No, seriously. So we talk around this issue a ton, and I wanted to do a specific episode on it, and I just think the easiest way was to do that solo. Today we're talking about being a CEO. It is wild to me how many people own businesses where they just have a job and have no idea what a CEO actually does. So a little bit of this is me having done it for the last 10 plus years. A lot of it of this is me having read 200 plus business books a year for the last 3 or 4 years, most of which are CEO memoirs and rundowns and stuff. So I've tried to take what it takes to be a CEO and really distilled it down into its essence. So we're going to talk about what a CEO actually does, how to transition into being a CEO, and then ultimately how to use being a CEO to live a better life and how to use living a better life to be a better CEO. That's what we're talking about today. I want to start, though, with two stories. If you read my newsletters, you know most of my stories have some sort of pop culture and then some sort of real situation. So I love the first Iron Man movie. I'm sure that should be obvious and not surprising to any of you. But I want to talk about when he makes the first Iron Man suit, right? So he's in a cave with another guy, and they're building the suit out of whatever they can find. And literally, like, he delegates the welding of this suit to this other dude that he met, by being kidnapped by these radicals. Like, that is the ultimate CEO move, right? Like, here I am, I'm going to get in this machine, I'm going to fight my way out of here. And even in that situation, like, this dude, you do the welding. I'm not going to micromanage welding the first Iron Man suit together. Now, to be fair, when he gets home and then builds the next Iron Man suits, he does it by himself, although he's got the helpful that robot that sprays him. But I just think it's so CEO that first time stuck in a cave, and obviously he's injured, but just like delegating parts of building it to the other guy who's with him is such a power CEO move. Transition that to Jordan Ostroff, who I started my firm in 2015, and I would say it was probably 3 years before I even remotely became a CEO. Like, I cannot do how long I was e-filing and dropping stuff off at the courthouse and also answering the phones and sending all the emails and handling the cases and doing all the marketing. Like, I was not a CEO remotely for 3 years, at least, probably more than that. And when I tell you it was terrible for everybody, it was terrible for me. I was drastically in debt. I was working a million hours. I wasn't that good at most of the things I was doing. And I wasn't alone. Like, I had other people. I was a terrible boss because I had no time to be a boss. I had 14 jobs, which took priority over ever assisting other people. So it's not really until, my wife told me she was pregnant with our kid, and I had the really nice happiness we've been trying for a year, immediately into how are we going to do this? We are $200,000 in debt. We are working 80 hours a week. We are miserable. And now someone's going to hand us a baby. And that's when I committed to really focusing on running a business and marketing. And then she committed to really focusing on being an attorney. And again, at that point, we were a 15-person firm, right? This was not just the two of us in the shop. This was a business that should have been existing to help us and was not. That's where all this started. So I can't tell you I knew this on day one. I can't tell you, certainly not on day one. I can't tell you I knew this on day 1,000, 3 years in when we decided to make this shift and really to focus on it. I just learned it over time. And the more I focus on these things, the better it's been. So at its core, a CEO does 3 things, and that's it. A CEO creates the vision, a CEO sells the vision, and a CEO helps people solve problems to achieve the vision. That's it. At its core, those are the 3 things of the CEO. That's not to say that you can't do anything else, because it is your business. You can create whatever role you want. You can create multiple roles, but that is the core function of a CEO. So setting the vision, right? This is that long-term thinking, that direction, that really in-depth focus on everything. I love the story of Walt Disney sketching Disneyland on a napkin. There's also really good, keeping on Disney, there's also a really good image of how Disney works together. So they release movies, which create characters, which come into the park, which then have rides, and kids come to the park and like loops everything back. It's so cool. And it's helpful, right? So in 2018, there's a McKinsey study that talked about visionary leadership being linked to higher revenue growth. And even like Amway, like achieving your goals becomes so much more likely if you write them out, if you write them down, if you have them there. So creating the vision. How do you create a vision? That's a really good question. Hopefully it's easy. And when I say that, like, hopefully you truly believe in what you're selling, and that makes it easier to create a vision. So for me, I want to create a vision of as many business owners as possible who actually own their business, not just have a job with a terrible boss because they work for themselves, but own their business and use that in a way that allows them to live a great life. That's what I want. What does that look like specifically? It looks like helping business owners lower their stress, lower the rates of suicide and depression, especially among lawyers. Doing that as often as possible for as many people as possible through the deliverable of 2 meetings a month, one-on-one, and then also having our luau group program from there. So the luau is scalable. We can have as many people in it. I've also got digital products. We can sell as many of those as needed, but then ultimately working that into me working with people one-on-one. At some point, maybe bringing on other coaches. I've got some other issues with that in terms of me in particular and how I like to do my coaching. So potentially getting into some sort of like mid-level group program. I don't know. We're not there yet. But I have a very strong vision in what the coaching looks like and what the outcome looks like for my clients. So then 2 is selling the vision. And you're selling the vision in 2 directions. You're selling the vision internally to a team. You're selling the vision externally to potential clients. So for me, I want to talk about the external first. Social media, ads, speaking engagements. That's how I sell this vision out there. I also live by example. So I work 3 days a week. I genuinely love my life 99% of the time. And I truly have seen what I have implemented be the difference for me. And am walking the walk over and over and over again as much as I am talking the talk. So me being me as loudly as possible is how I sell my vision externally. So being on stages, speaking in groups, doing Zooms, webinars, podcasts, those kind of things, and also social media. Now, internally selling the vision is truly taking that picture of how we help people and pushing it down to my team. Taking that picture of how I want to market and pushing it down to a marketing team. Taking that vision and pushing it down to the other people that work for me. So you build this vision, you sell this vision by hiring and empowering the right people. So you have to have the right people in the right seats, like Gino Wickman will tell you, to achieve this. So the right person with the right skills doing the right tasks. That comes from you selling a strong picture of the vision. At the beginning, it's you really systematizing a bunch of stuff and delegating things to people. But then as you get the right people and you have this serious vision, you can elevate them. So my personal assistant went from, I've had 2 assistants for a while. So the one who's with me the longest now started out as the newest assistant, then became the more senior when another person left to go to law school, and now is almost like a COO, director of ops, that kind of thing. And so with those promotions has come, financial stuff, but also with those has come more empowerment for her. Same thing, my original video editor now posts our social media as well and oversees some other marketing people. So by elevating them, I can remove myself from those things to some degree, right? Like I'm still going to sell this vision. I'm still doing the podcast. I'm still breaking down a lot of the stuff that I want from people in the big picture, but I've empowered them to achieve it in the day-to-day. So to go back to the Tony Stark example, right? Like I want this suit. We sketched out the plans. these people can weld it. I've put together this suit, it can get 3D printed, or however he has it created with the colors from the hot rod, that kind of thing. The issue becomes, as the business owner, we have to be the bottleneck, right? Like at first it's only us. Anything that doesn't get done is our problem. Then as we grow, we become the bottleneck in different ways. I love the Dan Martell concept, right? Like you don't hire to grow your business, you hire to buy back your time. So you figure out the things you're the bottleneck on, and then you put resources to them. You sell the vision of what this is supposed to look like to people: systems, delegation, automation, hiring people, etc. We'll get to that in a little bit more when we talk about removing bottlenecks. But selling the vision truly becomes creating this really strong picture that you can convey to somebody else to get them to buy in to the vision, to find people that genuinely also care about what you're doing for the purpose of achieving it, for the purpose of the business being better, the whole being better than the sum of the parts. And it's awesome when you build this team and sell this vision, because there's this thing in science called the cognitive load theory. So overworked brains reduce strategic decision-making capacity, which I lived it, right? Like when I was working 80 hours a week, when I was answering the phones and doing the filing and doing the marketing and handling all the cases and a million other things, like I couldn't think. I did not have time to actually think. God forbid anybody had a problem, I didn't have time to solve their problem, which gets to our third one, right? Removing the bottleneck and aligning resources. So at the beginning of growing a business, of becoming a CEO, a lot of this stuff is going to be you taking on the problematic tasks, right? So I have 1,000 things that the business does. I can systematize 800 of them. I can pass those on to these people, and then I'll take back as issues arise. That's where you start. And then as you elevate people, they start solving the problems. And then you have to become more of resource management bottlenecks, right? So if my marketing team and my Lawmatics building team both tell me they need a new employee, they need more help, they need more people hours, and I only have the bandwidth to hire one person, I have to figure out what of those to solve, right? So at the beginning, if you're doing everything, then you're removing bottlenecks by doing the difficult things. Then you're removing bottlenecks by empowering the team the right way, by aligning resources, spending time on automation, spending time on systemization, outsourcing things, hiring new people. Like you will be doing those things at the beginning of your journey to a CEO. Then you will be just telling other people those things, or giving them a budget, or giving them the amount of resources, or a certain amount of people that they can hire, those kind of things. You get to the point where you can problem solve without jumping into the weeds. At a high level, according to the Harvard Business Review, the best CEOs spend less than 20% of their time on execution tasks. I would love to spend 0 time on execution tasks for my business, I guess, other than the actual coaching, right? I'm sure that's an execution task up to some extent of what we do. But other than that, I don't want to do any of the execution because I'm not the right person for it, because it's repeatable enough that me designing the system to allow other people to execute on it is better, and it's more scalable, right? Like if I sit down and write out an email and it takes me 5 minutes, I spent those 5 minutes, I have that email. If I sit down and I spend 30 minutes writing out a way to sound like me, punch this in a chat GPT and have it write like me coming out for other emails. Now I have an unlimited number of people with an unlimited amount of, up to 40 hours a person per week that can use that rundown to send out more emails, to have more conversations, to create more content, to repurpose more things, whatever it is. So like spending, the 40 minutes to 60 minutes to do this presentation allows us to one, I am going to have my team watch parts of this so they can help understand the different roles that they have in here. But then two, we can get reels from this. We can run the full episode. We can take my audio and turn it into a transcript, and we can turn it into carousels and other social media posts and put it out there, and we can send it to clients to help them understand, what's different from having a CEO coach versus a business coach, right? Like you are hiring me to turn you into a CEO. Part of that will involve you having a better business, but I want to focus on you because that's what's been successful for me. Every time I took somebody else's advice on how to grow my business, I ended up with more problems, more headaches, more sleepless nights. And every time I got intentional about what I wanted, I got more happy things, more cases, more money, more time with my family, more flexibility and freedom. So that's my shift, from having walked the walk for so long myself, and then having watched clients make the same positive changes to their life, like that's where I line up. So I turn people into CEOs. This is why we're talking about this. So look, the biggest thing is, how do you transition to this? Step one, you need money. So if you are brand new to your business, you have to do everything. If you are bootstrapping your business, you have to do everything. You have to get some amount of cash flow. That is the first step. Once you have money, now you have capital that you can deploy, whether it's hiring people, automation, delegation, outsourcing, buying leads, whatever it is, that's fine, but you need the money first. Once you have the money, now we want to look at where to use it the best way. So normally I have my clients do a time audit. So for 2 weeks, they track everything that they do. They talk about if it gave them energy or sucked their energy. They talk about how easy it would be to delegate. And when I say easy, is it already systematized? Is it simple? Is it cheap? Those kind of things. So by us doing that time audit, we can see where they're spending their time on $10 an hour tasks that can be delegated to somebody else tomorrow. We see where they're spending time on things that can be automated once for $1,000 and they never have to do it again. You know, we see where those things are. I love Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time allotted. So absent an external constraint, work expands to fill the time allotted. Or as I explained to my 7-year-old, a fart is stinkier in a smaller room. I guess the difference being, though, in this case, Parkinson's law, we want to shrink the time that you have on those execution tasks. We want to shrink the time on those $10 an hour tasks to maximize your time on the $1,000 an hour tasks, the $10,000 an hour tasks, the true CEO type things. So step one is that time audit. Well, I guess step one is making the money. Step two is the time audit. Coming out of that, delegating those low-level tasks, automating those low-level tasks. So it's creating SOPs, which can be as simple as like I'm here in Google Meet. I could screen share with you while I'm doing specific tasks. And now I have a recording. I can have it set the transcript. I can have it do the Gemini notes. I can put it into an LLM and have it create a more specific SOP. So like you can get this information while you are doing the work. It should, at this point, at the point that you are listening to this, technology has caught up so well that you don't need to spend a ton of time creating systems for the simple things. Just record yourself doing it. Then you're going to pass it on to somebody else. You're going to have them do it a number of times. They're going to come back to you with any questions, concerns, ideas, etc. Then you're going to have them re-record it for their SOP. They've taken ownership of it. And then if at any point it needs to change, they're the ones that have to go and change it. So that's the steps to creating these SOPs, which is going to allow you to then delegate a lot of the low-level tasks and automate a lot of the tasks. So I love Flawmatics. I like Zapier. There's Make. There's a ton of other programs. There's APIs. And with AI, it's getting exponentially easier to have things automated and have programs talk to each other. I love this. Sorry, man. I love this study from Zapier in 2023 that said 30% of small business owners spend 20 plus hours per week on tasks that could be automated. I hope that with AI, ChatGPT, agents, agentic AI, LLMs, etc., I hope that this number goes down very quickly. It is amazing to me how fast technology is going when it comes to a lot of these things. We all still have low-hanging fruit, all of us. You do, I do, I definitely do. There are things that I haven't automated that I could. There are things I haven't delegated that I could. We're all a work in progress on this. But the sooner we start doing it, the more time we have to do it more frequently. So that's why I say, like, if you're working 60 hours a week currently, you audit your time, you find 5 hours to get off your plate to somebody else, even if it takes them 10 or 15 hours, it's fine. What I want you to do is then wedge the time savings. So you're going to get 2.5 hours of that 5 hours back. Sit on the couch, watch Netflix, go for a walk, hang out with your family. Like, do the things that you want the freedom to do right now. Take the other 2.5 hours and now put it back into it. What are the more complicated things to delegate? What are the more complicated things to automate, right? Do I have to go in and learn Zapier? Do I have to go and, fulfill more services, do more coaching, to have the money to hire somebody to do the Zapier work, to do the Lawmatics work, etc. It's going to get more and more complicated. So that's why if you get the low-hanging fruit off there, now you have the time savings to invest in the next one. And then again, with that 2.5 hours for whatever you want, create white space. Eventually as a CEO, I want you to have specific white space on your calendar. When I say white space, blank space, thinking time, walking time, vision planning, right? You don't have a super strong vision because you've been doing this nonstop, 80 hours a week. Great. When you get to the point where you're working 45 hours a week, 50 hours a week, now you can have the time to create a strong vision, to sit down and spend a half a day doing a vivid vision. It's a specific exercise that people put together. If you're better in the mornings for high level thinking, great. Don't schedule any of your auto book things until afternoon. Use that time for strategic thinking unless there's, emergencies that come up, right? I don't think anybody's going to follow their system 100%. I don't want anybody to follow their system 100%, but 80%, 85%, 90%, like that's where you should be, right? I always use the example of airline pilots. You get into the cockpit, you've got the checklist. We have to check this and check this and check that and make sure this is here and this is that and we've got this and all these authorizations. But then like when the engines go out, you've got Sully just landing the plane in the Hudson, right? Like that's your schedule. You can have checklists and guardrails and all these rules and all this, but like your kid gets sick, throw everything out the window and go take him to the hospital. You get sick, great. Go to the hospital, go to the doctor, get checked out. You have the opportunity. Dan Martell tells the story of getting to hang out with Richard Branson. Great. Like if that's an option, carve out your schedule. Like I want to give you the opportunity to throw the schedule out the window by having a really strong schedule 80 to 90% of the time. And then I personally like walking. It's good for fat loss, which is what I'm struggling with consistently. It's an easy opportunity to spend the time with somebody else. I will go for a walk with my wife and kid. I'll go for a walk with referral sources. I'll go for a walk with clients. We do walking meetings at the office. I love walking meetings. It's a really good way. I get 10,000 steps a day. I've done it every day since 2022. But also a Stanford study found that walking boosts your creative output by up to 60%. How did they find that out? I have no idea. I could not tell you, but they did. So, and I found it to be the case too. There's a lot of studies that find like when you're in a state of arousal, and I don't mean that sexually, you have more fun, you are more creative, like this study found, you remember things better. So if you could do a walking meeting with your team and everybody could be, 15 to 20% more alert and more creative and people remember the conversation better, that's exponential growth, right? In a way that you are also getting exercise, which is helpful in so many ways, so many other ways. So that is a CEO, right? That is how we become a CEO. We keep taking things off of our plate. I will do a time audit with my clients, usually every quarter, at most every 6 months. There's always going to be low-hanging fruit because the minute you got the first level low-hanging fruit off, now you come back, you have the second level. The other thing that you can do as a CEO to really get this time back is don't solve problems that aren't problems. There's people that I know, clients I work with and people that I know who just like to fiddle, right? Like it's not a problem, but it could be better, but it could be this. Like there are things in your business that are going, there are things in my business that are going poorly. There are things in your business that are going poorly. Don't run away from those and fiddle with other things and mess with other things. Solve the actual problem. And the reality of business ownership is it's all cyclical, right? So if, for example, my intake process stinks and I go back through and I systematize the whole thing and I hire an intake person and I pass things on to them, it's no longer my problem, great. Now I figure out how we fulfill more cases, we get that lined up, great. Now we find more marketing, we get more marketing coming in, and now we come back around and, oh wait, intake's a problem again now because we have 10 times as many leads, because we have, 4 times as many cases to handle, whatever it is. So it's wild to me how many business owners will solve a problem they don't have, knowing they have other problems. We all have problems. It's the nature of life, and we should enjoy the fact that we have problems because it is a luxury to be able to work on our business problems, right? We're not starving. We're not for fear of death. We're not, going through all these things that unfortunately millions, if not billions of people struggle with. We're talking about like, how do I make more money helping other business owners have a life? It's a luxury to have those problems. Trust me. So we talked about the 3 points of being a business owner. Remember, we are going to create the vision. We're going to sell the vision. We're going to help people with the bottlenecks. And then we talked about how to become a CEO. It's so time-based, right? Like you learn to be a CEO by being a CEO. So you get the execution stuff off your plate, you get the low level hanging fruit stuff off your plate. That gives you more time for the vision. It gives you more time to sell the vision. It gives you more time to help other people break through their bottlenecks, whether it's you doing it, whether it's you giving them more resources to solve the problem, whether it's you helping them with a better system, whether it's helping hire people, bring in experts, etc. Like that's what it is, because then you become a CEO by doing it, right? Like now you have the time to do employee evals and one-on-ones with people. Now you have the time to be a boss. Now you have the time to read about how to be a manager, how to be a boss, how to be a leader, whatever your specific shtick is now that you are a CEO, right? That's what we do. So the point that most other people miss is this concept of more. So many of my clients will go to a conference or work with somebody else, and now it's like, do more. Hey, networking lunches are great. Do 5 networking lunches a week. Okay. Hey, sending out Google ads was great. Spend 10 times as much on ads. More. The problem for me is the problem for my client. At some point, you cannot do more. There is no more to do. There is not, the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. There is not any more water in the towel to be squeezed out. And you just can't. Like if I did a networking lunch every lunch, I would be 300 pounds. Right? So like I have to balance, life is about balance. I have to balance all those things. So this is why I instead focus on living a great life. If you focus on living a great life, that will support your business and your business will support life. Because look, when you're not drowning is when you can see the shore, right? Like if you're struggling to stay over your head, if you're working 100 hours a week, you can't set a vision. You don't have the time. It's not worth spending the time, right? Like you have to solve those problems to get in this perspective. So rest and lack of stress leads to perspective. It leads to better strategic decisions. There's a thing in neuroscience called our default mode network, which is activated during rest. It's essential for long-term planning and insight. We have to have this default mode network going for us to be able to take long-term planning. Because again, like when we are, cave people and you hear a rustle in the bushes and you think it's a tiger coming to eat me and you run away, you survive. If you said, that's a tiger, no problem, and you don't worry about it, those people died. So we need to have enough rest and be safe enough to think longer term than, is that rustling in the bushes an animal coming to get me? Where am I going to get my next meal from? How am I going to not die tonight? You have to get through those things to have real long-term planning. Also, I'm going to tell a story that I don't normally tell that and honestly, I can't tell you if I'm proud of this story or not. So it was like the height of COVID. We had made, so PI firm, right? No one's driving for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. There are no cases. The courthouse is closed. There are no hearings. We get paid at the end of the case. There's no resolutions, right? Like it was very tough. I am so proud of my team for the pivots that they did. We took our podcast and we went virtual with it. We went from weekly to every single day. I was on the computer for an hour live streaming with any business owner who was remotely open, talking about, what have you done during COVID? How are things going? How open are you? Those kind of things. All sorts of topics, everything. People who were boarding pets. Nobody's traveling. There's no pets to board. What can they do instead? So they started running classes online for people to become better pet owners. How do you take care of your pets? How do you help, maintenance for pets? How do you help your pets learn, training them, getting steps, whatever it was. Like we went through that every single day. It was awesome to see my team learn how to take the podcast and make it a live stream video, find the time to do it daily. My receptionist, there were no calls, right? So what happened? She sat down and learned Canva. She started making posts. Now we have this, we have this show coming out every day. We have a post, we have an announcement, we're pulling graphics for people. There are so many different opportunities, and we jumped on them, almost all of us. And so we're sitting in a meeting, having gone through this. I think we probably had the PPP loan at that point. I don't remember if we did. I was just so thankful to everybody. We did not cut, knock on wood, didn't cut a single dollar from anybody else's pocket. I took the hit, didn't cut a single hour from anybody else. I took the hits. It was fine. It was great. Somebody in the middle of this meeting was like, well, that's not my job. And again, everybody else is completely pivoting and changing and all this stuff. And we're in a virtual meeting, and like literally I ripped the head. I said, "It's not your job," and I ripped the headphones out of my ears, and I stormed off. Like I left the meeting and like physically walked out of. I don't know if I was in the office and nobody else was. I was at my house, whatever it was. Like I don't remember that. Yeah, I think I was at my office and nobody else was. Like we would rotate to go check on the office, make sure nobody broke in, and whatever else. Like stormed out and did a couple laps around the office and like came back in. And I apologize to the team for it. I just like I was very stressed out. I don't know if I handled that situation correctly. I definitely would not have. It definitely would not have been correct if it wasn't a situation where I was really doing it for everybody else, right? So we had 12 people at that time, 15 people at that time, 11 of us, 14 of us, everybody but one was pivoting, was changing, was doing it. So like my aggravation was the fact that this person was undermining the rest of the team, but I still wish I'd handled it differently. Still wish there had been more constructive, right? And ultimately, like it destroyed the relationship. Like the person ended up not working for us very soon after that. This situation and some other things as well. If I was more stressed, I think those situations would have happened more often, and not in the right situation, right? Like I am thankful that at least that outburst was me defending the rest of my team. Was looking at my marketing director who couldn't meet with people and was figuring out how to do this live stream. So I was looking at my receptionist who couldn't answer the phone because it wasn't ringing and learning about Canva. Was talking to my, legal assistants and paralegals who there was nothing to do on cases. Were calling clients and checking in on them and making sure they had resources and figuring out what other, COVID assistance and stuff we could help, because most of our clients had nothing to begin with. And now like they don't work, they don't have jobs. They're, I guess, not getting evicted because that was frozen, but just, it was amazing to me. That will happen 100, that will have night and day difference. Like you being stressed, you will make worse decisions. You will react instead of responding correctly to things. The less stress you have, the better boss you become. You become more emotionally regulated. You become more of a model of healthy behavior for your team. According to a Talent Smart study, leaders with high emotional intelligence drive 20% better team performance. 20% better team performance. And if you figure that you could manage 5 to 10 people, you're talking about 100, 200% benefit by that 20% across everybody. But that comes back to you being in the right frame of mind. That comes back to you being well rested. That comes back to you being able to respond and hear situations. The other story that I share as well on the, I guess, opposite side. So there was that beneficial ownership information, the BOI stuff. You had to do it. You didn't have to do it. You had to do it. You didn't have to do it, whatever. And so at one of the points that you had to do it, I told my assistant, I was like, hey, go ahead, just knock this out. You'll need my driver's license, some other stuff, etc. So she ends up getting an email sent to me within a day of this. That's like, hey, for $500, we'll do your BOI. She signs up for it. Didn't check with me, but again, like we had just talked about this and the email came in. It was an incredibly interesting timeline of this situation. And then happened to be talking to her a couple of days later. Okay, knocked it out. Great, cool. It was $500. And I was like, wait, what? It's supposed to be free. Like you just upload this thing, the whole thing. The look on her face of just like white ghost gasp. Oh my God, I messed up. And I was like, look, first of all, it's $500. It's not a big deal along those lines. Back up from the middle of the story, $500 is a ton to some people, right? Like, thankfully, it is, again, it's a luxury that $500 isn't that big of a deal. Using it as a learning opportunity. Like, there's that old story about the guy who makes a $250,000 mistake at a business, thinks he's being fired, and the boss says, why would we fire you? You just learned a $250,000 lesson. So, like, it's a $500 lesson. I was like, what can we do about it? So we asked a couple things, so we emailed them and explained the situation. They said, okay, cool, no problem. And they refunded us like, it was $450, something like that. Great. And if they hadn't, it still would have been great. That's because I wasn't already stressed out. That's because I was emotionally regulated in the time. I was able to handle that situation. And, but for that $500, if I had blown up and gone nuts and fired this person, like I would have lost out on 10 more months of her services before she left to go to law school. And I would have lost out on like some amazing things that she did in that time frame. if I was really that freaked out about $500. And I say this again, it's a luxury. There are certainly people out there that don't have that opportunity, that really need the $500, that can't afford a $500 mistake. I get that. The point is not the $500. The point is, by running a better business, by living a better life, I could handle that situation better. It makes me a better boss. In a situation where my employee is freaking out, I can be supportive emotionally, financially, I guess not physically, physically supportive. I don't know. Not physically supportive. Don't, there are 5 love languages, but only 4 of them apply in the workplace, right? Like physical touch is not the one. But that's because I was less stressed out, right? And so like we would have lost way more than $500 if I blew up on this employee and they quit, or if I fired them, just in hiring somebody else, just in expecting we wouldn't find somebody as talented, just in taking the time to get them up to speed. Just like, there are so many reasons not to freak out over money. We don't have that luxury in the moment unless we have that luxury in the moment. So less stress makes you a better boss. Also, I find that like networking, creativity, and growth come better from my downtime, right? Like my referrals and big ideas and breakthroughs come from golf, come from hearing something that somebody's talking about at Topgolf and thinking about how we can change that for this, come from something I heard in a podcast or a book that I was listening to while I was out walking, coming from having lunch or dinner with friends and having a friend talk to me about some issue they're coming up, and thinking about like, well, if I gave them this advice, they give me this advice, or how do we take that situation, something that's going on in the real estate industry and apply it to legal, and how do we take something that's going on in the financial industry and apply it to coaching? Like, it's amazing to me how many of these opportunities come during this quote unquote downtime, right? Like, I guess I take it back. Dear IRS, this downtime is networking. This downtime is business development. This downtime is creative thinking, right? Like, let's make it tax deductible, because this stuff truly comes from it, right? There's a Wharton study that talks about how informal social networks account for 70% of high value business connections. 70%. Now, I think that number might be a little bit lower because of COVID, because of the digital thing of stuff. I don't know, because also like you end up actually connecting with people more consistently through social media. I think, I've got 11,000 plus contacts on LinkedIn. Have all of them sent me a case? No. But have 100 of them sent me a case who otherwise wouldn't because we are connected on LinkedIn? Yes. I mean, like, that adds up, right? So this is why I'm so big on this life concept. I've seen it in action. And if you hate networking, you're never going to do it. If you hate writing newsletters, it's going to be harder to do it. If you hate spending a bunch of money on Google ads, it's going to be harder to do it. So what are the things that you like? I hope all of us have things in life that we genuinely enjoy. So how do we do more of them? For me, I can do more of what I want when I can get business from it, when I can get ideas from it, when I can get doubly refreshed from it, because I get refreshed from spending time with other people. So like, I love disc golf. It's that much better with a group of my friends. It's that much better with a group of referral sources. It's that much better with a group of potential clients. I love golf. Same thing. I love disc golf, pickleball. Like, for me, it's enjoyable to spend this time with people and potentially get an additional benefit out of it. I want to be very clear. I would still do those things with those people, even if there was no business to be had. If I closed down my firm tomorrow, if I stopped coaching lawyers tomorrow, I would still do 95% of what I do in my free time. Or I should say free time. It's not even free time. In my week, I would do 95% of what I do in the week with 95% of the people that I do it with. Like, I'm constantly looking for new things. I'm constantly looking for new people just in case something happens. I may do that a little bit less, but like, I'm hanging out with people that I want to hang out with. For me, networking is doing what I want to do with who I want to do it with. That's what being a CEO really is. Because, Jim Rohn has the concept, you are the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So if I am spending time at 2:00 in the afternoon at Topgolf with other business owners who can spend 2:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday at Topgolf, they have their business set up, right? Like, if you're somebody who needs to still do all the execution work, you're not coming to hang out with me in the middle of the day. So I'm able to time these things to get people that I want to be connected with, that I want to be more like, I guess is probably the end of, you are the people, the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if I'm spending time with people that can do fun things during the day, it's because they have a business that supports their opportunity. It's because they are a true CEO. It's because they're going through these things. So I'm learning a ton and having a ton of fun and feeling refreshed and relaxed. Like I will tell you, when I sit down or write a book and I'm writing for 2 to 3 hours, I am so drained. When I go play disc golf for an hour and a half, even if it's 100 degrees outside, I'm so energized. If I go and play pickleball for a couple hours, even if it's 100 degrees out, I'm so energized, right? Like these are the things that I enjoy doing. I like spending time with people. I like the exercise. I like the activity. I like the gamesmanship of it. Obviously, like in pickleball, you're playing against somebody. Disc golf, you're playing against yourself. But like, how do you spend more of those times? Because I get cases from it. I learn things from it. I become a better boss from it. I'm less stressed out from it. I'm healthier from it. I will live longer. I will be around to participate in the game of business more. Like the benefits go on and on. It all comes back to prioritizing it. And so that's why I say, like, we've got the 3 rules of being a CEO, right? You are going to create the vision, you're going to sell the vision, you're going to help people avoid the bottlenecks. But when we're talking about how to actually become a CEO, it's based upon time. It's finding the time. It's getting out of the execution tasks and into being a boss, into being a manager, into being a leader, into being a CEO, creating that vision and setting that vision and coaching people through their problems or providing them resources to help with their problems. And that comes back to you having a good life. I also think people naturally look up to you, especially those who work for you. It's wild to me in retrospect. When I was frazzled all the time, none of my attorneys stayed because I don't think it was conscious, but subconsciously they're like, what's to stay for, right? There is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to work more and more and be just as aggravated and pissed off as Jordan is, as opposed to now, like my people stay with me a lot longer. The people that have left, they've left to go to law school. They've left to go work with their sibling. They've left to go work with their spouse. They've left to, I don't open up their own firm. I guess no, nobody's left for that one directly. People have done that after other jobs. But yeah, I mean, like, it's amazing to me how much less turnover I've had, being happier, because I think people can see like there is a benefit to all these things. And ultimately, like, trickle down economics. I'm trying to trickle this stuff down, right? Like one of my team members built a leave policy for us. And I was like, hey, do you think the leave policy is aligned with what I'm talking about and how I live? And they're like, no. I was like, great. So let's make sure everybody else's leave policy matches with mine. So we have unlimited PTO. Go for it. Have fun. Everybody can take off as long as they're the first person off. And after those, it just has to get checked. I've never said no. I don't think. If we have, it's been once, and maybe it was a slight tweak or change, because I don't think it's fair. If I have this flexibility and freedom, to force it upon other people to not have it is not fair. But by giving them the flexibility and freedom, people stay and they learn and they empower themselves and they elevate their own skills and they become better and more impactful and they lead by example, because I lead by example. It trickles down. Like, that's I guess it's not trickle down economics, trickle down life habits, and whatever you want to call it. So that's how you become a CEO. That's how you run a great business, by having a great life, by giving yourself the time to have a great life and then utilizing that time so that you can become a better boss. So what do I think you do from this? Track your time. 2 weeks. I've got my time audit. I will send it to you for free. Drop a comment, send me a message. It's on our website. That's going to help you figure out the low-level tasks, get those off your plate tomorrow. If you are listening to this and you have a business making $100,000 or more and you don't have an assistant, you 100% need an assistant. I don't care if it's a VA for 5 or 10 hours a week, going up to having a full-time in-office person who super supports you. You need it. There are random things that somebody else can do that for a cheaper rate than you, that will allow you to do things that make a lot more money than you're spending on that person. I promise you. Then, wedge that time savings. So you take the time to delegate to them. You save 10 hours a week. Great. 5 of it for you, for your spouse, for your family, for fun stuff, for friends, an hour a day of walking, leaving at noon on Friday, whatever that looks like. Take the other half and put that into the next level of things. What are the things that are more complicated to systematize? What are the things that are more expensive to hire somebody for? What are the things that are going to take more time for you to train and somebody has to shadow and want to get through those things? And then basically, like, what do you want to do more of in your life? You want to play golf more? You want to play pickleball more? You want to watch more movies? You want to sit on the couch and watch more Netflix? I don't care. I don't care what it is. I want to put you in the position where you're able to do those things because it will be rewarding to you. And by it being rewarding to you, you will reward others, your clients, your spouse, your family, your kids, your employees, by being a better boss. So at some point, it is selfish to never put yourself first, because then you are not able to pitch in for anybody else. Truly putting yourself first as often as you can allows you to show up better. So, which all goes back to like the whole point of all this, right? The end of the day, the whole point of all this is going from the things you have to do to the things you get to do, right? Like, what are the things I get to do today as a CEO? I get to sit down with clients who have super high level problems. I get to sit down with, multi 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure firm owners, business owners, and really help them become 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure businesses. It's awesome. It's so much fun. I get to do a meeting with my team. I get to hear about what everybody else is working on, what they're stuck on, how we can help each other. I get to do those things. What do I have to do? I don't know. At the beginning, I said I used to have to get 10,000 steps. Now I get to. There's some cool trails there. When the weather's nice, wandering around doing these things. Like, that's the goal. Being a CEO, create a vision, pass the vision on to people, help them solve problems that help you live a better life, because it's the things that you get to do. Now, things go sideways. COVID, you can pitch in. You get to help pivot the company. Not you have to do 10,000 things and don't have the time to. So that's where I really want to help more people become true CEOs. From a lawyer perspective, it's amazing to me. The average attorney makes the average solo makes just over $60,000 a year. There's like 1.5 million attorneys, about 400,000 law firms. But then you figure like the non-practicing attorneys, the government firms, Morgan's got over 1,000 attorneys. So like the average attorney is solo. They're making over 60. Just over 60, but the average attorney makes like $90,000, $100,000, depending upon where they are. So really, by you having your own business, you are statistically removing $30,000 a year from your life. If you're really on the low end, it could be more, right? So like, what's the point of, there's so many business owners that think it's a failure to close down and go work for somebody else. And like, you're going to work fewer hours for more money. So if you're going to do this, create a business that supports the life you want to have. Give yourself this freedom and flexibility. Seriously, that's how you stay in the game. That's how you enjoy this. That's how you become a CEO. That's how you live a better life. And again, these things are circular. Being a better CEO helps you live a better life. Living a better life helps you be a better CEO. It's all tied together. If you're looking for a group to help you with this more, obviously we've got the podcast every week, but then we have our luau, our online community of other like-minded business owners coming together to live better lives. It's awesome to see what we've done. We've got the Firewalk, our personal hot seats every month. We got a book club every month. We do challenges. We do a 3-day fast. We're going to do a 12-hour walk. We're going to do 10,000 steps every day for 30 days. Those kind of things, like coming together and building that community. I promise you, there are other people out there trying to do the same things as you. And I promise you, there are people out there that want to see you succeed. Me being one of them. So let's connect and all become better CEOs together.